The air inside the Platinum Motors dealership shimmered with the faint hum of luxury. The scent of leather, and the polished gleam of multi-million-dollar cars resting beneath glass chandeliers. To most who walked in, it was a temple of wealth, a cathedral of chrome and horsepower, where men with money paraded their pride as much as their machines. To Kesha Johnson, however, it was simply another place where she didn't belong, at least not according to those who looked at her. She had entered that morning with no intention of confrontation. Her plan was straightforward: pick up the part she had ordered for a customer's car at her modest suburban repair shop, pay for it, and leave quietly. But fate, as it often did, had other designs. Fate was loud, cruel, and wearing a Rolex. Marcus Wellington III stood tall in the center of the showroom. The epitome of arrogance, dressed in a navy blue suit that cost more than Kesha's entire shop rent for a year. He was heir to an oil fortune, a man who lived on headlines and thrived on being watched. His Lamborghini Huracan sat silent, its engine lifeless, a glossy beast reduced to an expensive statue. Mechanics had tried. Experts had failed. 2 weeks of diagnoses, half a dozen hands under the hood, and still nothing. The car refused to roar. And then Kesha had spoken. She hadn't meant to. It slipped out instinctively, the way an artist might involuntarily correct a child's crooked brushstroke. She had overheard one of the dealership's certified mechanics misidentifying the problem. Something about the ignition coils. She knew instantly he was wrong. Her sharp eyes had already caught what others hadn't. The subtle misalignment of wires, the unique shade of exhaust smoke, the telltale sound of an engine straining against a hidden obstruction. It's not the coils, she had said softly, almost to herself. It's your fuel injection system. Look at the smoke. That's not a misfire. That's electronic mismanagement. The words froze the air. Heads turned, and Marcus, who loved a stage more than he loved his cars, had heard her. Did you hear that, gentlemen? He called out, his voice booming across the showroom. Our little visitor thinks she knows more than a factory-certified expert. Laughter bubbled from the men gathered around him, bankers, heirs, executives in tailored suits. Some leaned back against million-dollar cars as though they were cheap bar stools, amused by the audacity of a young black woman in jeans and a grease-stained shirt correcting their world. Marcus walked toward her slowly, his Rolex catching the light like a weapon. Tell me, sweetheart, he said, every syllable dipped in condescension. Do you even know the difference between a piston and a carburetor? Kesha stood still, her face calm but her stomach twisting. She had seen that look before. She had heard that tone before. She had endured it from professors who doubted her place in mechanical engineering classes. From customers who demanded to speak to the real mechanic. From supervisors who thought her place was cleaning tools, not using them. This was nothing new, yet every time it resurfaced, the sting remained. Marcus grinned when she didn't answer immediately. I'll make it interesting, he declared, raising his voice so the echo bounced off the marble walls. $100,000. That's right, gentlemen, $100,000 in cash if she can fix my car. But when she fails, and she will fail, she admits, right here, in front of all of you, that women don't know a damn thing about engines. The laughter roared louder. Some men pulled out their phones, already recording what they thought would be her humiliation. A circus had begun, and Kesha was the unwilling performer. She looked at the Lamborghini, then back at Marcus. His smug smile burned into her skin. She thought of her grandfather, of the afternoons spent in his junkyard with grease under her nails and tools in her hands. Of his words whispered over the sound of clanging steel. Engines don't see gender, baby, girl, they don't see color. They only want to work. I accept, she said simply. The room fell into an anticipatory hush, broken only by the incredulous scoffs of wealthy men who thought they had just secured the best entertainment of their day. Marcus leaned closer, the predatory smile widening. It's a deal. Get ready for your little fantasy to collapse. And when it does, remember you asked for this. As the crowd thickened, more men arrived, called by Marcus to witness the spectacle. Within minutes, 20 sets of wealthy eyes circled her, their laughter mixing with the clicking of cameras. Some placed side bets on how long she would last. 10 minutes. 15. Would she cry? Would she run? Kesha inhaled deeply and opened the hood of the Lamborghini. To most, the view beneath was chaos, a jungle of wires and metal. To her, it was language. Within 30 seconds, Her trained senses spotted what others missed. An unauthorized performance chip lodged in the system, incompatible and carelessly installed. A counterfeit part, one that screamed fraud to anyone who knew how to listen. She straightened up and asked evenly, "Who was the last person to work on this car?" What does it matter? Marcus snapped, suddenly defensive. "The point is, it doesn't work. You said you could fix it. So fix it." Her sharp eyes caught his unease, the subtle flicker in his gaze, the way his confidence faltered. There was a story here, one he didn't want uncovered. She kept her tone professional. "I'll need specialized tools. A European diagnostic scanner, an ECU reprogramming kit, things only certain suppliers carry." Marcus smirked. "Excuses. Already. 2 minutes in. I knew this was going to be fun." "It's not an excuse," Kesha replied, pulling out her phone. "It's called doing the job right." She dialed a number, her voice calm as she ordered the equipment. "It'll be here in 2 hours, she announced, pocketing the phone. Marcus chuckled. 2 hours of free theater, gentlemen, sit back and enjoy. While the men drank champagne and ridiculed her, Kesha sat quietly, observing Marcus. Every mention of previous mechanics made him shift uncomfortably, his arrogance cracking at the edges. He wasn't afraid of her failing, he was afraid of her succeeding. When the Advanced Automotive Solutions truck arrived 2 hours later, the laughter faltered. Out stepped David Morrison, senior engineer at Lamborghini North America. A man whose presence turned the circus into a courtroom. He was tall, sharp-eyed, his uniform spotless. In his hands were tools worth more than some of the cars parked outside. "Miss Johnson?" he asked, his voice steady. "That's me," Kesha replied. David's eyes lit with recognition. "I thought so. It's been a while. I brought everything you asked for." Marcus frowned. "Who the hell is this? You can't bring help." David handed out a business card. "David Morrison, senior engineer, Lamborghini North America. I'm not here to do her job. I'm here to provide technical support and official equipment." A ripple of unease swept through the crowd. Suddenly, this wasn't just about humiliating a woman. This was official. Corporate. Documented. Kesha began her work, hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. David watched, occasionally murmuring, "Confirmations. You see this code, unauthorized programming. Counterfeit part." Her fingers removed the fake chip, holding it up for all to see. "This isn't just bad workmanship. This is dangerous. A counterfeit part disguised as a premium upgrade. Whoever installed this risked catastrophic engine failure, possibly even fire." The color drained from Marcus's face. "That's irrelevant. The deal was simple. Fix the car." "And I will," Kesha said coolly. "But the truth matters, too." For the next hour, she worked methodically, stripping the lies from the machine, restoring it piece by piece to its rightful form. Every turn of the wrench, every reprogrammed code, was a silent defiance against the voices mocking her. The crowd, once raucous, now watched in tense silence, the weight of reality replacing their amusement. Finally, David announced, "Diagnostics complete. The system is clean." Kesha placed her hand on the ignition. She glanced briefly at Marcus, who tried to mask his dread with a smirk. Then, with a steady twist, the Lamborghini roared to life. It wasn't just a start. It was thunder, pure and perfect, the sound of an Italian beast reborn. The walls shook with the vibration, and the men who had once laughed now stood wide-eyed, their disbelief palpable. Kesha stepped back, her face calm, her eyes steady. "That's how you fix a Lamborghini," she said softly. Marcus staggered closer, muttering, "Impossible." "How? How did you?" "By knowing engines," she interrupted, her tone firm. "Not by mocking people. Not by cutting corners. By doing the work right." David stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Mr. Wellington, I must inform you officially. This vehicle was tampered with illegally. Counterfeit parts, unauthorized modifications, safety risks. Whoever did this not only voided your warranty but endangered your life." The room fell into stunned silence. Marcus swallowed hard, sweat beading his forehead. For the first time, all day, he had no comeback. And Kesha, standing tall with grease on her hands and triumph in her eyes, knew this was only the beginning. The Lamborghini purred, like a predator awakened, its flawless rhythm filling the dealership with a sound that demanded respect. To Kesha, it was nothing extraordinary, it was simply an engine breathing again. But to the men who had mocked her, it was the shattering of every smug assumption they had carried into the room. Some lowered their phones quietly, embarrassed at the recordings they had taken, suddenly unsure whether they still wanted to share them. Others looked at Marcus, waiting for his reaction, for the comeback that had always been ready on his tongue. But Marcus Wellington III, heir to wealth and arrogance, had no words. His smirk had melted into disbelief, his bravado stripped bare, in front of an audience he himself had summoned. Kesha wiped her hands on her already stained shirt. Her movements unhurried, almost serene. "You wanted the car running," she said evenly. "There it is. $100,000. The words sliced through the silence like a blade. The crowd murmured, shifting uneasily. A few men smirked, as if enjoying Marcus's discomfort. For them, the bet had been entertainment, but now it had turned into something binding. Undeniable. Marcus forced a laugh, though it cracked at the edges. "Fine performance," he sneered. "But anyone can get lucky. You still haven't proven it wasn't just a fluke." David Morrison stepped forward, his tablet glowing with data. "It wasn't luck. We have full diagnostics, a record of every counterfeit part removed, every unauthorized code reprogrammed. This is official documentation from Lamborghini North America. Miss Johnson didn't just get the car running, she saved it." Saved it, scoffed Jonathan Berkshire, the hotel heir, though his voice carried less confidence than before. "Yes," David said, his tone clipped, professional. "The counterfeit chip installed here was on the verge of causing catastrophic failure. Continued use could have led to a complete engine fire. Mr. Wellington's life and the lives of anyone near this vehicle were at risk." A chill fell over the room. Men who had laughed only hours before now exchanged uneasy glances. The word fire lingered heavily, an unspoken reminder that their cruelty had almost been fatal entertainment. Kesha's eyes locked on Marcus. "The question is, who installed those parts? Who put you in danger?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably, his jaw tightening. "What difference does it make?" "It makes all the difference," Kesha replied, her voice, though calm, cut with quiet authority. "Someone sold you lies. Someone took your money and gave you scraps that could have killed you. And from the way you keep dodging, I'd say you already know who." A ripple of curiosity surged through the crowd. For the first time, the men weren't mocking her, they were listening. David connected his laptop to a portable projector. Numbers, codes, and diagrams appeared on the white wall of the dealership. "Every counterfeit part has a traceable origin," he explained. "This chip's serial number links directly to a supplier called Performance Plus Modifications, a small company operating out of Los Angeles." The crowd leaned forward, murmuring among themselves. Kesha's voice dropped low, deliberate. "And that company just happens to be owned by Marcus Wellington III. The room erupted. Gasps, exclamations, laughter of a different kind, disbelieving, scornful, directed not at Kesha but at Marcus. "That's ridiculous." Marcus barked, his face flushed. "You're making baseless accusations." David held up his tablet. "This is no accusation. The registration documents are public record. Your name is on the company charter. Performance Plus Modifications is your side business." The weight of proof crushed the last traces of Marcus's smugness. He stammered, his voice faltering. It's not. That's not not what?" Kesha interrupted sharply. "Not fraud. Not deception. You've been installing counterfeit parts in luxury cars and charging full price. And when those cars failed, when mechanics couldn't fix them, you laughed. You called in crowds. You humiliated anyone who dared to question you. All while covering up your own scam." Every eye in the room turned on Marcus. The men who had cheered him now recoiled, unwilling to be associated with a fraudster. Jonathan stepped back, shaking his head. "You set her up," he muttered. "This whole circus was your cover, wasn't it? A distraction." Marcus tried to protest, but the more he spoke, the deeper he sank. No one was supposed to find out. "The parts, look, it's just business. Everyone cuts corners. Everyone cheats a little." "No," Kesha said, her voice steady. "Not everyone. Honest mechanics don't cheat. Engineers don't cheat. People who respect machines don't cheat. You put your pride above safety, your greed above truth. And you thought no one would ever catch you, least of all me. For a moment, the room was utterly still. Then David spoke, his tone carrying the authority of an official representative. Mr. Wellington, I will be filing a full report with Lamborghini North America and the proper authorities. Counterfeit modifications are not just unethical, they're criminal. You may be looking at lawsuits, revoked warranties, and possible federal charges. Marcus's face collapsed into desperation. His empire of arrogance was crumbling before him. But Kesha wasn't done. She stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. You wanted me to stand here and admit women know nothing about engines. You wanted me to humiliate myself so your ego could stand taller. Instead, I proved more than just my knowledge. I proved your fraud. I proved your cowardice. And I proved that respect isn't earned by money, or suits, or Rolex watches. Respect is earned by truth, by skill, by work. Things you've never known. The crowd erupted not in laughter this time, but in applause. A slow, deliberate clap began at the back, then spread until the marble walls echoed with the sound of approval. Men who had doubted her now nodded in reluctant respect. Some looked ashamed at their earlier mockery. Marcus staggered backward, his face pale, his kingdom of pride turned to dust in a single afternoon. David stepped beside Kesha. Miss Johnson, if you'd ever consider returning, Lamborghini North America would be honored to have you back. Your expertise, your integrity, it's rare. Kesha smiled faintly, shaking her head. Thank you, David, but I've already got a shop, and people who trust me. That's enough. David nodded, understanding. The Lamborghini's engine still hummed softly behind them, a mechanical testimony to her victory. Kesha turned toward the door, her steps steady, her head high. The cameras that had been raised to record her humiliation now followed her triumph. At the threshold. She paused and glanced back. Marcus stood frozen, surrounded by the very men who had once cheered him. Their eyes were no longer filled with amusement, but with disgust and distance. Engines don't see gender, Kesha said softly, almost to herself, echoing her grandfather's wisdom. They only want to work. It's people who break things. And with that, she left the Platinum Motors dealership behind, her shoulders squared, her reputation unshakable, her dignity untouchable. What remained was the echo not of laughter, but of respect, and the lesson etched forever into the minds of those privileged men. A lesson they would never forget: competence cannot be mocked, truth cannot be hidden, and prejudice cannot silence talent. For Marcus Wellington III, it was the day his empire cracked. For Kesha Johnson, it was just another day proving she belonged, because of who she was, but because of what she could do. And as the sun dipped low over Beverly Hills, the Lamborghini roared one last time, not as a machine of arrogance, but as the anthem of a mechanic who had turned humiliation into history.